Confidence in her own skin is something that grows over time. It is not the kind of confidence that is loud or showy. It is quiet but undeniable. It is the way a woman enters a room without needing to be the center of attention, but still somehow everyone notices her presence because she carries herself with a certainty that does not require approval. She no longer wastes her energy trying to impress people who don't matter. She is not defined by trends, opinions, or fleeting standards. She is defined by how comfortable she feels in her own body, in her own story, and in the life she has built. She understands her worth isn't tied to how perfectly she looks in the mirror, but by how fully she embraces the person looking back at her. And that is where her attractiveness begins to radiate in a way that cannot be faked or copied. As she grows older, the insecurities that once held her back begin to lose their power. She remembers the times she worried about small flaws or imperfections, and now she smiles at how little those things matter. The lines on her face are no longer a source of worry, but a map of the laughter, the tears, and the lessons she has lived through. Her confidence doesn't ignore her flaws, it accepts them. It turns them into marks of authenticity rather than weakness. She does not pretend to be someone she is not, and in doing so, she becomes even more magnetic to those around her. People feel at ease in her presence because she is at ease with herself. She wears her years like a crown, not a burden, and that makes her presence captivating in a way that no surface beauty could replace. This kind of confidence is not built overnight. It comes from a lifetime of trials, failures, victories, and lessons learned the hard way. It comes from falling down and finding the strength to stand back up again, from being overlooked and realizing she never needed to prove herself in the first place, from loving and losing, from daring to take risks, and discovering she could survive even the worst of storms. This deep inner strength turns into an aura that people can sense even before she speaks. Because when someone has lived through enough challenges and still chooses to stand tall, that resilience radiates through everything she does, and it becomes one of the most attractive qualities a woman can ever embody. Her confidence also shows in how she speaks and how she listens. She doesn't feel the need to dominate a conversation, yet when she does speak, her words carry weight, not because she raises her voice, but because she speaks with clarity and certainty. She no longer feels the need to constantly prove herself right. Instead, she listens, she considers, she chooses her responses carefully, and that makes people lean in. It makes people want to hear her perspective, and it makes her presence feel powerful in the most natural way, because true confidence is never about overpowering others. It's about being so secure within yourself that you don't need to. It also shows in how she carries her body, not in a forced or calculated way, but in the natural ease of someone who is not trying too hard. She walks into a room with her head held high. Her posture speaks louder than words. Her smile is genuine because it is not trying to hide anything, and that combination is magnetic. People are drawn to her because she seems free, and freedom is always attractive. She doesn't measure her worth by whether others approve. She measures it by her own standards, by whether she is true to her values, and that inner alignment is something people can sense without her needing to say a word. Confidence in her own skin also allows her to uplift others without feeling threatened. She doesn't compete with younger women or compare herself to anyone else. She has nothing to prove, and that makes her generosity stand out. She can admire another woman's beauty or success without it diminishing her own. And that kind of security is rare. It creates an environment where people feel seen and appreciated instead of judged or measured. And that makes her even more attractive because people gravitate towards someone who lifts rather than competes, who encourages rather than criticizes, who inspires rather than intimidates. At this stage of life, confidence becomes less about appearance and more about presence. It's the intangible energy that makes someone feel safe, respected, and understood in her company. People remember how she made them feel more than what she wore or how she looked. And she knows this. She knows that true attractiveness doesn't fade with time. It grows deeper, it becomes layered, it becomes more meaningful, and it lasts because it is no longer tied to fragile things that fade, but to qualities that only strengthen with every passing year. Wisdom shaped by life experiences is one of the most magnetic qualities a woman carries as she grows older. It is not the kind of knowledge you find in a book or a lecture. It is earned through years of choices, mistakes, victories, and lessons learned the hard way. It is the wisdom that comes from falling in love and understanding what real love requires, from losing people and realizing how fragile time is, from chasing things that once seemed important only to discover they never really mattered. This kind of wisdom cannot be rushed. It deepens with every season of life, and it shows in the way she approaches challenges, the way she approaches people, and the way she approaches herself. Her attractiveness is amplified because she brings a perspective that makes others stop and think in ways they might not have on their own. She carries stories inside of her that make her conversations richer. She does not only talk about surface topics, she can draw from years of living, of observing, of experiencing both pain and joy, and that depth is magnetic. When she speaks, there is weight in her words, not because she demands it, but because she has lived enough to know what is true and what is fleeting. She can guide with a simple sentence. She can calm with a single thought, and she can challenge with a question that makes someone see life differently. Wisdom gives her a presence that feels grounded. People feel safer when they are around someone who has seen storms, because storms have taught her not only how to survive, but how to appreciate the sunshine when it comes again. This wisdom also shapes the way she views herself. She no longer measures her worth by shallow comparisons or temporary validation. She knows who she is and what she brings to the table, and she is not easily shaken by outside noise. The opinions of others carry less weight because she has learned how to separate truth from judgment. She knows what truly matters, and that clarity gives her a confidence that does not fade with age. She has made peace with mistakes and uses them as lessons instead of regrets. She has learned how to forgive others and, more importantly, how to forgive herself. That freedom radiates outward and makes her more approachable, more relatable, and more admirable. Wisdom also softens her outlook on others. She sees beyond the surface. She is less quick to judge because life has shown her that everyone carries battles they do not reveal. Instead of criticizing, she empathizes. Instead of dismissing, she considers. And that ability to extend understanding is deeply attractive because people long to be understood. And when they find someone who can offer that, they are drawn to her presence. Her wisdom allows her to see the bigger picture, to rise above pettiness, and to focus on what truly builds connections rather than what tears them down. And that maturity makes her beauty feel timeless rather than temporary. Her wisdom also shapes how she spends her time. She no longer wastes it on things that drain her. She has learned to say no without guilt, to prioritize peace over chaos, to choose quality over quantity, and to surround herself with people who bring meaning instead of noise. This makes her life calmer and richer, and it makes her energy more attractive, because people sense when someone is selective, intentional, and protective of their well-being. Her wisdom teaches her to let go of what she cannot control and to cherish what she can, and that balance creates an inner calm that others crave to be near. With wisdom, she is able to mentor without preaching, inspire without forcing, and guide without controlling. She doesn't need to prove that she knows more. She allows her actions, her patience, and her perspective to speak for themselves. Younger people look up to her, not because she tells them to, but because they see something in her that they hope to grow into one day. Her wisdom becomes a legacy, passed on through her presence, her words, and her example. And that makes her beauty stretch beyond her own lifetime, because the impact of her wisdom continues to live in those she touches. Wisdom shaped by life experiences is not something that fades. It grows deeper, richer, and more compelling as the years go on. And that is why it makes her so powerfully attractive at an older age. It is the kind of beauty that doesn't compete with youth because it doesn't need to. It stands on its own, it draws people in, and it leaves an impression that lingers long after she is gone from the room. Wisdom is the glow that cannot be dimmed because it comes from the inside out, and that glow makes her presence unforgettable. Grace in how she carries herself is one of the most striking qualities that makes a woman attractive as she grows older. It is not about perfection or flawless movements. It is about the quiet elegance that shows in how she handles both her daily life and the unexpected storms that come her way. Grace is revealed in the way she speaks with respect even when she disagrees, in the way she chooses composure over chaos, in the way she refuses to let anger dictate her words. She has learned that dignity carries more power than shouting ever could, and that strength does not need to be loud to be felt. Her grace makes her presence calming. People notice the steadiness in her voice, the patience in her responses, and the way she treats others as if they matter, no matter who they are or what they can offer her. This grace is not something she was born with fully formed. It developed over time, shaped by experiences where she could have lashed out but chose instead to pause, shaped by moments where she could have broken down but decided to stand tall, shaped by challenges that taught her that self-control is not weakness but strength. Grace is found in the way she carries herself through both joy and sorrow. Without letting either one make her lose her balance, she can celebrate without arrogance and endure without bitterness. And that balanced way of living makes her shine in a world where extremes are often glorified. She becomes a reminder that stability is powerful and that calmness can be deeply magnetic. When she walks into a room, it is not about turning heads with flashiness. It is about the atmosphere she creates. Her body language shows confidence without arrogance. Her steps are steady, her smile is warm, and her eyes carry a kindness that makes others feel seen. She doesn't force attention, but attention finds her, because people are naturally drawn to someone who radiates peace. Her grace speaks before she even opens her mouth. It shows in how she carries herself with humility and poise, in how she acknowledges others without needing to diminish herself, and in how she can stand tall without overshadowing those around her. That kind of presence cannot be ignored because it is rare. Grace also shows in how she responds to life's disappointments. Rather than letting bitterness harden her heart, she chooses resilience. Rather than holding grudges that weigh her down, she chooses forgiveness, not because it is easy, but because she understands it frees her from carrying unnecessary burdens. Grace allows her to move forward without being chained to the past. It allows her to see challenges as teachers instead of punishments. It allows her to remain kind even in a world that has not always been kind to her, and that strength wrapped in gentleness is an irresistible combination. It proves that toughness and tenderness can live side by side within the same soul. Her grace also makes her relationships richer because she knows how to communicate without cutting down, how to stand firm without becoming cruel, and how to lead by example instead of force. She listens more than she speaks, and when she does speak, her words carry empathy. Her grace allows her to bring peace into conflicts, to be the calm in the storm, and to show people that strength doesn't always have to roar. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it comforts, sometimes it simply stands steady while everything else falls apart. This ability to bring harmony instead of division is one of the most attractive traits she carries, and it only grows stronger with age. Another part of her grace is the way she honors herself without needing to diminish others. She does not compete. She does not seek to prove that she is better. She knows that her value stands on its own, and that allows her to celebrate other people's successes without envy. Her grace creates space for others to shine while she shines in her own way. She shows that true beauty is never about comparison. It is about authenticity. And when people see someone who carries herself with that kind of dignity, it is unforgettable because it is rare to encounter someone who is both strong and gentle, both humble and confident, both firm and kind. Grace also means she doesn't let the world dictate how she should act or react. She is not easily shaken by gossip, trends, or temporary opinions. She has learned to trust herself, to move with intention, and to carry herself with consistency Whether she is in a crowded room or sitting quietly alone, her grace is not a performance. It is who she is. It is how she chooses to live each day, and that authenticity makes her even more magnetic because people are drawn to those who do not pretend, who do not perform, but who remain steady no matter the setting. She shows that grace is not about external polish, but about internal strength that guides every choice and every step. Grace in how she carries herself is what makes her beauty timeless, because it is not tied to youth or appearance. It is tied to the way she makes others feel. It is tied to the way she maintains her dignity in every season. And it is tied to the way she transforms every room she enters with calmness, kindness, and quiet strength. People remember her not for what she wore or how perfect she looked, but for how her presence made them feel steady, respected, and uplifted. And that is the kind of beauty that only deepens with age. Emotional depth and compassion are qualities that make a woman truly magnetic as she grows older, because with time she develops the ability to not only understand her own emotions, but also connect deeply with the emotions of others. She no longer hides behind masks or feels the need to pretend she is unaffected. Instead, she embraces the fullness of her humanity, the joy, the grief, the love, the disappointment, and all the layers in between. This openness makes her authentic and approachable. It gives her a warmth that makes people feel safe in her presence. Her compassion shows in the way she notices the details that others overlook, in the way she extends kindness without expecting anything in return, and in the way she carries an empathy that cannot be manufactured but only lived through. This emotional depth comes from years of experiences that shaped her perspective. She has known loss and understands how fragile life is. She has experienced betrayal and knows how valuable trust is. She has felt heartbreak and knows how strong the human heart can be. She has lived through mistakes and learned how to grow from them. Each of these experiences carved a deeper well of understanding within her, and now when others come to her with pain, she does not dismiss it or rush to fix it. She listens, she validates, she provides a space where someone can be fully themselves without fear of judgment, and that ability to truly connect is a rare and beautiful trait that makes her unforgettable. Her compassion is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form, because it takes courage to care deeply in a world that often encourages detachment. It takes resilience to remain open-hearted after being hurt. It takes wisdom to know that offering kindness does not make her smaller, it makes her stronger. People are drawn to her because she is a reminder that gentleness can exist alongside power, that vulnerability can walk hand in hand with resilience, and that emotional depth is not a burden, but a gift that makes every relationship richer. She knows how to see beyond the surface and into the heart of others, and that makes her presence healing. In relationships, whether with family, friends, or partners, her emotional depth makes her invaluable. She understands the importance of listening more than speaking, of offering presence more than solutions, and of showing patience when others are at their most fragile. She doesn't withdraw when things get difficult. She leans in with understanding. She gives grace when others fall short, and she creates connections that are built on authenticity instead of appearances. This makes people gravitate toward her, not because she offers perfection, but because she offers sincerity. Her love feels deeper. Her friendships feel stronger, and her presence feels irreplaceable, all because she has chosen to cultivate compassion as a way of life. Her emotional depth also influences the way she treats herself. She no longer hides from her own feelings or judges herself harshly for having them. She accepts her emotions as a part of her humanity, and that acceptance allows her to process them in a healthier way. She doesn't numb herself or bury what she feels. She honors it, learns from it, and uses it as fuel for growth. This self-compassion makes her more balanced and more resilient. It prevents her from being hardened by pain and instead transforms her into someone who can endure challenges without losing her softness. And that balance between strength and tenderness makes her beauty stand out in ways that go far beyond appearance. Her compassion extends beyond people into the way she views the world. She notices the struggles others often overlook. She cares about fairness, justice, and kindness, not just in her personal circle, but in the broader sense of humanity. She chooses to add good into the world in small, quiet ways that make a big difference, whether through a kind word, a supportive gesture, or simply the willingness to show up when someone needs it most. Her emotional depth allows her to see value where others might not, and that perspective makes her energy feel rare and precious. People feel better simply by being around her because she makes them feel valued, accepted, and understood. Emotional depth and compassion are qualities that do not fade with age. They only grow stronger because they are built on lived experiences, on battles fought, on lessons learned, and on a heart that has chosen again and again to remain open instead of closed. These traits make her deeply attractive in a way that youth alone could never achieve because they go beyond surface beauty and into the very essence of what it means to be human. Her presence feels grounding, her kindness feels real, and her ability to connect feels timeless. She becomes the kind of person others never forget, not because of what she had, but because of who she was. And that is what makes her beauty endure through the years. A positive energy that inspires others is one of the most powerful and enduring traits that makes a woman attractive at an older age, because it is not about ignoring hardships or pretending that life has been easy. It is about choosing to carry light even after walking through dark seasons. It is about choosing hope instead of bitterness, joy instead of cynicism, and gratitude instead of resentment. People are drawn to her because her presence feels like a breath of fresh air. She has a way of lifting the atmosphere in a room without even trying. Her smile is not forced but genuine. Her laughter is not empty but full of life. And her outlook is contagious in the best possible way. She shows that positivity is not naivety, but strength, because it takes courage to hold on to optimism when life has tested you again and again. Her positive energy does not mean she has not faced struggles. In fact, it is the opposite. She has endured hardships, disappointments, and seasons of uncertainty, but she has chosen not to let those experiences define her spirit. She has learned that life is too short to carry bitterness, and she knows that focusing on what is good does not erase the pain, but it helps her rise above it. Her optimism is grounded, not blind. It is built on resilience and perspective. She has lived enough to know that storms pass, that failures teach, that endings bring new beginnings, and that hope always has a place. This makes her presence inspiring because people see not just someone who is cheerful, but someone who has earned her joy. When people are around her, they feel better about themselves and about life because her energy is uplifting without being overwhelming. She listens with encouragement, she speaks with kindness, and she carries herself with a lightness that reminds others that they too can handle what they are going through. She does not spread negativity or dwell on complaints. Instead, she looks for solutions, for lessons, for silver linings, and that mindset shifts the energy of those around her. She becomes the person people want to talk to when they are struggling, not because she will fix everything, but because she will remind them that they are capable of getting through it. Her positivity is not shallow. It is a deep well that others can draw strength from. Her positive energy also shows in the way she approaches her daily life. She notices beauty in the ordinary. She celebrates small victories, and she finds reasons to be grateful, even in simple things. This way of living makes her more radiant, because gratitude always magnifies joy. She chooses to focus on what she can control instead of wasting energy on what she cannot. She refuses to be consumed by negativity that only drains her, and that discipline of choosing positivity makes her more attractive. People admire her because she is not weighed down by unnecessary burdens. She has mastered the art of letting go and moving forward, and that lightness in her spirit makes others want to follow her example. Her positivity does not mean she avoids seriousness or depth. In fact, it makes her depth more powerful because she can acknowledge pain without being consumed by it. She can face reality without losing faith in the good, and she can empathize with others without sinking into hopelessness. This balance allows her to connect deeply with people while still being a source of encouragement. She can share wisdom from her own struggles while also pointing to the lessons and growth that came from them. She can acknowledge the darkness while still reminding others of the light, and that duality makes her presence both grounding and inspiring. She does not sugarcoat life, but she refuses to let life harden her. In relationships, her positive energy transforms the people around her. She brings laughter into moments that could feel heavy. She brings reassurance when others feel uncertain. And she brings perspective when situations feel overwhelming. People find comfort in her because she models how to live with hope. She doesn't demand perfection. She simply brings a spirit that makes others feel like things will be okay. Her positivity allows her to celebrate others genuinely, to encourage them freely, and to see the best in them even when they struggle to see it in themselves. This not only makes her attractive, but also unforgettable, because people never forget how someone made them feel. A positive energy that inspires others is a rare quality because it is not easy to maintain. It is a choice that must be made every day, and that choice is what makes it so admirable. As she grows older, this energy becomes even stronger because it is backed by perspective, by faith, by experience, and by a heart that has chosen to focus on what builds rather than what destroys. Her attractiveness is not tied to fleeting beauty, but to the way she makes people feel alive, encouraged, and hopeful. She becomes someone people want to be around, not just because of how she looks, but because of the light she carries within. And that light is the kind of beauty that never fades.